Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our Arsenal transfer show. Our show in which we break down the latest Arsenal transfer news, give you guys the latest updates, try to make some sense of the chaos that we call Arsenal's transfer business, and of course get your thoughts in the chat box as well. Good morning. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're good for episode 38 is what this is. Episode 38. Wow. I was looking the other day, thanks to Laith, by the way, that told me this, but there are 83 days left from yesterday. So there's 82 days left of the window, which means that you've got another 82 of me being your morning wake-up call. So will that happen? Do you think I can go another 82 8 a.m. morning shows? We will see. We will see. Holidays will happen, but we'll see if, we can do a live show from abroad. So we'll see if we can do that. There will be no green. I ain't taking this on a plane. I'm telling you that. But we'll see. Maybe we can't even go on holiday. We don't know. 21st of June in the UK is when restrictions supposedly end, although we're expecting that to probably be pushed back. But you never know. We could be doing a transfer show from another country at some point. We'll have to wait and see. Without further ado, though, let's have a look at our first transfer story, which has been pretty much consistent over the last few days in where we start these shows, is looking at Granit Xhaka. I think that when it comes down to this, it's very much a waiting game. It's inevitable. It's a formality at this point, is what it is. Granit Xhaka is going to move to Roma. It is pretty much already a done deal. I reported yesterday on 101 that, according to Italian sources, he has agreed a 15.5 approximate £1 million deal with Roma, which is not high. It's really, really not. A 15.5 million pounds of Granit Xhaka is, in my mind, a very low amount of money. The way I'm trying to context it is basically it's a £15 million discount on any of his replacements. That's how I'm trying to process it being that low, and that's okay. I'm okay with it for that. But let's be real, 20 million is probably a much fairer price. But Roma want to get this deal done quick. Arsenal want to get players out, and all of the other factors like the pandemic, etc. All of those things have led to this point where his fee is much, much, much lower than we ever thought it would have been, which is a shame. And it's 15.5 including bonuses, which is ridiculous. Even further, like, we're not going to get anything extra on top of that. If he it could even be a fact where Arsenal get around 10 million, maybe less, up front for this deal, with then bonuses included. Now, the bonuses are supposedly very easy bonuses to kind of achieve, to succeed in. But it's just, I just cannot see this being a deal where Arsenal come out financially very well off, let's say. Let's see what you guys say in the chat box this morning. Good morning from New Zealand, Anthony. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Midday routine, says Tejas. You must be very much further east than I am. Good evening from Vancouver. I mean, it's not evening, Sean. It's not evening, mate. You are up at a ridiculous time, is what you're doing. That's early morning by this point, son. That's not evening. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good day, wherever you are in the world. Carol Bailey says scandalous amount, should be 20 to 25 million. Arsenal have caved in on a transfer. No Sleep says the losses that this club have made on transfers in the last 5 years is ridiculous. T. Irving says no one else was interested in Xhaka in order to drive the price up, which is very true. Tom says 25 million with add-ons should have been the right price for a player in his prime. What a joke Arsenal is at selling players. Rich Cosford says, just tuned in, 20 million I could have lived with, but 15.5 is ridiculous. We've had our pants pulled down. Very aptly put there from Rich. Let's move on to our next story, which is the other out of the day to discuss, and that is Matteo Guendouzi. He very much looks like he's going to be on the move to Marseille in the next, as a similar time frame to Granit Xhaka, it seems. Arsenal could end up getting a figure just over 10 million euros, including add-ons for this deal, which actually, to be honest, I'm okay with. I didn't think we were going to get anything for this guy. I thought he was probably just going to run his deal down, never play again and get nothing. He'll leave. any money that Arsenal can get from Matteo Guendouzi is a good thing. He's going to go. Whether you wanted him to stay or not, he's going to go. And so any money that we can get for this guy is a positive in my mind. There's not too much to discuss on this. We've done this one to death. He is going to be moving on. Marseille are closing in on this deal. Reports came out yesterday that it was pretty much a done thing and that he's going to be going. And, of course, Marseille also announced the signing of Gerson, the Brazilian midfielder that Arsenal were linked to last summer from Flamengo, who used to play for Roma. So they'll have an interesting midfield to watch next season as they push for a Champions League spot, which they couldn't get anywhere close to this season, as Liga becomes a very competitive league, which is great to see. Definitely so. Anyway, let's go on to the transfer ins, which is obviously everyone's favourite part of the show. Now, this is a picture of Edu. Now, Edu is on holiday. Tut. How very dare he? How very dare he go on? How very dare he go on holiday? I mean, this guy, the utter. I don't know. I haven't got a word for it. I can't actually fabricate language to describe my anger at a man going on holiday in the summer. How dare he do that? I mean, I have seen the backlash on social media, and it is completely justified. Everybody that's taken the time out of their day, congratulations to you on spending some time to tweet your anger at a man going on holiday in the summer. I am, of course, being extremely sarcastic, if you hadn't caught on already. I mean, come on. He's allowed a holiday, especially in the summer. When you're thinking about the transfer window runs this amount of time, there's also a hell of a lot of people behind the scenes beyond just Edu. A week away, if it even is that, is honestly, I don't know. The bounds of this fan base, no, absolutely no bounds to me. They do not fail to surprise me in their ludicrousy at the things that we like to moan about. Fair play to Edu. Go take a break, get your mind clean, come back with a refreshed brain and go get some transfer deals done for us. You've got other guys there, Richard Garlett, you've got all the recruitment staff, the analytics team, etc., etc. And by the way, I'm going to go on holiday, and I'm still going to try and do a show for you. It doesn't mean that he's not still working on holiday. He's got his phone. Believe it or not, you can do things abroad. He's not gone to like a different planet where he hasn't got any signal. He's just gone on holiday. That is all that it is. And yet, for some reason, it is still something to absolutely melt down about. Unbelievable scenes, really. Absolutely unreal from the man there. Fair play to Edu. I hope you enjoy your break, mate. Come back refreshed and get some deals done for us, son. Anyway, speaking of some new deals, we've got quite a few, ironically, a lot of new transfer targets to talk about in varying levels of ridiculousness. We start off pretty high end on the ridiculous scale with Nicolo Barella being linked to a move to Arsenal through Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy. I don't see any credibility in this one. I would be absolutely beyond shocked if Arsenal went in and got Nicolo Barella. It's a fee that would cost, the fee would be 60 million upwards for this Inter Milan player. Inter are looking to make money, of course, which means you're going to see their players linked with other clubs. Their owner needs to make money. They're looking to generate funds, so their players are going to be linked with clubs looking for certain positions. I wouldn't let this fool you. I wouldn't let you get excited about this one. It's just an absolute rumor at this point. I'm not going to turn around and BS you. It's just not realistic at this point. I wish it was, because he's a great player. And who knows, maybe we'll be surprised later in the window. But right as of this very moment, I've heard nothing. I've seen no credible sources tell me anything. It's absolutely poppycock is a good British word to describe it, I suppose. So there you go, Nicolo Barella. If you wanted him, I'm sorry. It's just not, and I'm not going to sit here and try and generate a rumor that I don't think is true. So there you go. Nice kit, though, by the way. You do have to say that. Anyway, let's move on to our next story, which is also a very strange one. Ben White of Brighton. Supposedly Arsenal are interested in a player that's rated by the club at £50 million. Now, if you think that's excessive, you shouldn't, because Brighton turned down a £40 million from Leicester for Lewis Dunk not a couple of seasons ago. They want big money for the players that they can get big money for. If Basuma, of course, we know is going to go for around £30 million plus pounds. But when you've got Ben White, that's now an England international, been called up for the European Championships, is still young. You've got that premium tax on that guy. £50 million is a figure that does not surprise me. Is he a good player? Yes, Ben White is a good player, and I do like him. I've done a lot more looking into him over the time he's been called up to the England team. I was quite dismissive of him, to be honest, a couple of months ago, maybe even sooner than that. But I do like him from watching him a bit more and doing a little bit more studying of him, seeing him for England as well. However, if Arsenal are going to go and spend £50 million on a player, or anywhere upwards of that figure, especially for this centre-back position, which for me is a well-stocked area for Arsenal. And the only way that I would like Arsenal to go and sign a good centre-back is if it is a genuinely transformative, world-class player in that position, not someone that's going to be a bit of a risk, not someone who's going to be costing you more than they're worth. And so for that reason, if this link is true, which whilst I was able to completely disregard the Barella link, I can't do that for Ben White. There could be some credibility in this, in Arsenal's interest. Absolutely nothing in regards to a bid or talks or anything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal are indeed interested in him, because we know that Arsenal are interested in looking for a centre-back this summer window. It would surprise me if Arsenal went in for a £50 million bid for him. And I think it would. I'm not sure if it'd be the right move, because of what we've already got. And of course, William Saliba, a lot of people want to see him play next season, and Ben White would certainly take that position alongside Gabriel. So he's a good player. Don't write him off. Don't turn your nose up at him. But for £50 million, I think is probably a little bit, not even a little bit, maybe a little bit, significantly probably too higher than I'm ready to go. So there you go. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to go through a lot of your questions and thoughts at the end of the video. We're on number 3 of 4. Vanderson, Gremio, 19-year-old Brazilian right-back. This is quite an amusing transfer link, because it is probably the most Arsenal thing you've ever seen, because not only was this guy linked, but just moments, and I'm literally mean mere moments before the link was generated, he signed a new contract with his club, which is exceptionally amusing. And yeah, I've seen some funny things covering Arsenal transfer news for a number of years. But when you see a player linked to Arsenal, literally mere hours after they've signed a new contract with the club, that is on a new level. That is just different gravy, and I love it, and it's great. Now, let's talk about this a little bit more seriously. If a player signs a new contract, does it mean that you can't go and sign them? No, of course it doesn't. It doesn't mean that. You could still do that. I mean, players sign for clubs. I mean, I remember when Demichelis signed for Atletico Madrid, and in the same summer, Manchester City went and bought him from them. So we've seen some crazy transfer deals happen. This I look at as a very unlikely one. It's a highly rated Brazilian player playing in Brazil in a position that Arsenal need. We've got a technical director that likes to bring and have a look at Brazilian players. It's an easy link. It's a very easy link to generate. That doesn't mean it's not true. It just means it makes a lot of sense, and you need to be a little bit careful of it. I think his previous contract, and I might be wrong on this, but I did saw a couple of rumours that his previous contract was only a year less, that it ran out in 2024. So it may be that it's just a year extension, increase of wages, protect his value for the club. Then he still could move on. But I've not seen anything really credible. It was like a fairly big Brazilian source that quoted it. But again, it just seems a little bit far-fetched to sign a player that's literally just signed a new contract with the club. But it's not impossible. So, watch this space. Anyway, we move on to our last transfer target, which is the new one. There's 4 new transfer targets today. Crazy. This is the most realistic of the group, and one I could see Arsenal going for this summer should players leave. And that is Real Sociedad's Alexander Isak. Now, the Swedish international joined Real Sociedad from Borussia Dortmund. He was a youngster there, wasn't really getting into their first team, moved to Real Sociedad, where he has really flourished. Obviously, he was playing with Willian Jose, who joined Wolves in January on loan. He's flourished in his absence as well. 17 odd goals, I think, this season. He's a very solid player, and he's going to be playing at the European Championships. And it also means that we can do some watch-alongs watching him for Sweden, because that was one of the ideas that people put across, is we should do some watch-alongs targeting specific players at the Euros of transfer targets. So that could be quite a fun idea that we'll do during the Euros, should it coincide with work times. But what I would say is that I like this. I like the link. I think there's credibility in the interest, not necessarily that there's going to be a formal move just of yet, but surely there's interest there from Arsenal from what we've seen. And so for that reason, we will be doing a tactical breakdown a little bit later on today at 3 p.m. UK time, covering Alexander Isak. We'll be comparing him to Ivan Toney, to Aubameyang, and to Lacazette statistically, and getting the thoughts of Alan Feely, who is an expert of Spanish football over at La Liga Lowdown. So make sure you tune in a little bit later on this afternoon, and you will get that content into your subscription box. So make sure you do tune in for that. But yeah, it's a really nice link, and I think it's something that Arsenal may be interested in, but it is very, very much, what's the word I'm looking for? Dependent on Arsenal moving a player on. If we aren't going to move Lacazette on, if Aubameyang's not going to go, then we won't go for this guy. It's as simple as that. You need Lacazette to go. You need Aubameyang to go if you're going to see Arsenal going for a striker. The fee is obviously dependent upon what Real Sociedad are willing to accept. His release clause is around £60 million, but I don't think Real Sociedad would go that high. I think you'd be able to get him for a lower fee, probably around the 40s. Between maybe 30 to 40, high 30s, low 40s maybe would be a reasonable figure for him. So I don't think 60 million is a realistic figure to quote. I think you'd be looking more around the £40 million figure for Arsenal to go in for him. So that concludes all of the transfer news. So we move on to the final part of the show, which is, of course, you guys in the chat box asking some questions. So if you do have anything to ask or want some thoughts and theories about different things that are going on, then throw them into the chat and we will discuss them. Let's scroll up a little bit more. Jasmos says, something that's never discussed is our poor wage structure. I don't understand our philosophy. So many overpaid signings compared to other top six clubs' wage bills. How do we explain this? You explain it by poor management from the top. You explain it by a huge amount of change from Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger wanted a very strict policy that he only kind of broke for very extreme circumstances, like offering Alexis Sanchez a new deal, which he didn't accept, and offering Mesut Ozil a new deal out of panic because we'd lost Alexis Sanchez. Then we've gone through a lot of change, like Raul Sanyehi coming in, Sven Mislintat being there, Huss Farmi, and now we've moved on to Edu. We've moved on to Richard Garlick coming in, and all of those different philosophies lead to inconsistency. And it's not an excuse, and it doesn't justify it. It's still a huge mistake, but that is one of the reasons as to why we have such a fractured wage structure and a fractured recruitment base. Other clubs, whilst they change managers a lot, typically have kept the whole executive setup pretty similar, and so that's why they're able to manage those situations much, much better. Let's scroll down to get some questions. Tono says, Tom, I've just seen a Gunner blog. Good old James McNicholas. Let's have a look on his Twitter. Linking us to Tyler Adams, the RB Leipzig. Oh, an RB Leipzig player. Lovely stuff. One day Arsenal sign or someone from one of the RB clubs. That would be nice. Tyler Adams linked as a possible right back / DM. Very interesting. Oh, that means another tactical breakdown coming through, because I do trust the athletic sources. So yes, maybe we'll have to do a tactical breakdown on Tyler Adams now. Wonderful things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know loads about him, only from watching him in the US men's national team. But they like his versatility, clearly. Still young, US men's national team international. So yeah, I'll have to do a lot more digging into it, and then we'll give you some thoughts on it for sure. Carol says, saw on The Athletic this morning that Nketiah will be offered a new contract. Do you know anything regarding this? Carol, I've heard absolutely nothing about this, if that is true. I imagine it's done maybe to protect value rather than as a long-term kind of, you know, like I don't think they're looking at Nketiah as a long-term option. I just think they're if they've only got him 1 year left on his deal, then you're at risk of losing him for a silly fee. And if he's not going to go this summer, then maybe protect his value and then sell him on in a season's time, or send him on loan this season. If you send him on loan and he does really well, but you haven't got extended his contract, he's going to leave for free. If you can extend his contract by a season or two and then send him on loan this season, go off, do really well, not block the path of following Balogun, then you've got the opportunity to make some money. So it probably is a bit of a smart move, and not one that I think people should overreact to be honest. It makes a little bit of logistical sense to do that. Alan Matthews says, what do you think of Baku, Rydal Baku? Heard a rumour link with Arsenal. He is an Arsenal fan. We will get him under 20 million, and Sabitzer in the market for £15 million. A few people have been asking about Sabitzer. He did make my list of 10 alternatives to Emi Buendia. Certainly think he's someone that Arsenal should be looking at. Certainly as a 27-year-old that's very, very good, versatile, can play cam, centre mid, right wing, left wing, can play in many positions, and I think he's a really good player. So for the 15 million quid, if you can't go and get Erdegaard, he's a really good alternative. Regarding Rydal Baku, of course, very, very exciting player, coming through at Wolfsburg, German under-21s, got to the final, did really well, set up the goal, which won them the tournament, of course, for what's his name? It's gone out of my mind, the guy who scored the goal. And it's going to bother me now. Nemecha, was it Nemecha? I think it might have Nemecha. I think that's his name. But yeah, he's obviously a really exciting young player, and someone that I think will go off to something big. Will Arsenal go and grab him? I don't think they will, because it makes too much sense, honestly. Pereira, 17 million, or Julian Brandt for 22 million. Pereira, do you mean which Pereira? There's a lot of Pereiras. Do you mean Manchester United's Pereira? There's quite a few of those. Julian Brandt for 22 million. I'm not a big fan of Brandt, to be honest. I think he's on the way down. I don't think he's going to reach his potential. So there you go. Zach Stacey says, what about Brendan Aronson to replace Willian? I'd love Brendan Aronson. He was in my perfect summer video that we did quite a while ago now with Drew. He was my left field pick from Red Bull Salzburg, and he had an amazing opportunity. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I did quote tweet it on my thing this morning. So if you want to go and watch some amazing bit of skill, then go and have a look at it. Yes, Nemecha, thank you. I thought I was right. Let's go. Matt G, I couldn't support someone named Baku. The memories are still too raw. Very much so. Abe says, what kind of player is Charlie Patino? Heard he'd be integrated into the first team next season. Yeah, basically what they mean when he's going to be integrated into the first team is they mean he'll train with the first team squads. I'd be very surprised if he got any first team minutes. Maybe in a League Cup game against a lower league opposition if we get draw against one. But I think more so he's going to be used week in, week out in the under-23s, developing. But he's a midfielder and he's exceptionally exciting. He's someone that I think we could be very excited about in the future. But he's only 16, 17 years of age. He's so young. So there's a long way still to go with that kid. But I remember he made, I think it was the Guardian's 100 really exciting world youngsters a couple of years ago. And that was when he was only like 15, 16. So he is very highly rated and there's a lot expected to come of him. So keep your eye out for Charlie Patino. Balaji says, what do you think about Tottenham's new manager? Is he any good? Paulo Fonseca. It's very weird seeing as obviously Jose Mourinho has gone to Roma. Paulo Fonseca has left Roma. So they're swapping coaches, basically. It's an unknown, really. You don't really know what's going to happen. He's never managed in the Premier League before, to the best of my knowledge. I might be wrong about that. I'm just going to check that because I hate being wrong, surprisingly enough. So let me just have a look. Has he managed in the Premier League before a club when I just completely missed it? He has managed at Roma, Shakhtar, Braga, Pacos de Ferreira, Porto, but no English clubs. So no. Roma's his first club outside of Portugal and Ukraine, is it not? So that's interesting. Shakhtar Donetsk, he was obviously a big part of their success during 2016, 2019 domestically in their league. Obviously, they do really well competing against Dynamo Kiev most of the time. Roma, I don't know if he's done amazingly well at Roma since going there. He hasn't won anything. And I mean, although I know Serie A is a very difficult league for teams like Roma, have got a lot of competition, but wasn't there a funny story about he made 6 substitutes and got disqualified or something like that? So that doesn't define a coach. Obviously, it's a silly story that's going to stay with him forever. But I feel like it's it's a decision that would please Arsenal fans more than it would please Spurs fans. I mean, imagine if Spurs have got Antonio Conte. Like, to go from that caliber to Paulo Fonseca, I think, is a big difference in kind of pedigree, in terms of honours. So I think it would certainly please Arsenal fans a lot more than Spurs fans if they got Paulo Fonseca. Let's be real. Trent O'Neill says, what are your thoughts are on Kamada, the Frankfurt Japanese international? Yeah, creative player, very good. He was in our 10 alternatives of Buendia. So certainly someone maybe that Arsenal should be looking for. Philip says, Tom, could you do a 10 list of right backs and centre midfielders? Yes, I am, Philip. I am going to do that. It's really busy at the moment because basically we're getting linked to a new player every single day. My plan is basically when the Xhaka news drops that he's going to go, it's probably then a good time to do the video on the central midfield replacements that we could go for. But at the moment we're being linked with player after player after player, and I want to make sure that I get out the dedicated tactical breakdowns on those guys first, and then use time the video correctly so it coincides with Xhaka moving on. Also, I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the Portugal game yesterday. Ruben Neves was good. I thought he was a good player on the pitch. You could see that he's very good at moving the ball around and working the spaces and playing into the right areas. And he's proactive. He was always looking for that ball into the space outside the box for a Jota or a Ronaldo. So I really enjoyed Neves' performance yesterday. So check it out if you haven't already, because it was impressive. Steve Andrews says, Tom, I'd love the combination of Neves and Isak on the counter-attack. Neves quickly transitioning the ball and Isak has the pace to run in behind. Your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, spot on. Neves is, whilst he's not quick on his feet, he's quick in regards to his passing. So that's certainly something that I would very much like to see at Arsenal. Those two would be great. Isak is a great player, and we're going to look at him in a lot more detail this afternoon. Alistair says, how do you rate Filip Kostich, who's, of course, another Frankfurt player, Serbian international? He plays more for me on the left-hand side than attacking midfield, though, right? I was sure, I haven't watched him a lot recently, but the last time I did, I thought he was like left wing back, left wing kind of player. So I don't know if that's a position that we necessarily are looking for on the left-hand side, because we've got, I think Saka's future lies there, and I think Pepe is very much on the right. So I'm not sure whether or not that would be the player that we'd be right to go for. But if he has transitioned to a more of a central player that I don't know, then maybe it's someone that we could look at. But I don't know enough to have a real opinion on him, I'm afraid. Sorry, apologies. Arsenal Gunner says Isak versus Yuri Alberto. Again, Alberto is very much a prospect. And I know that Isak is still very young, but he's more established in the top 5 European leagues. So I will be comparing him to your Lacazettes, your Aubameyangs, and your Ivan Tonys of this world. So tune in for that one. Neil De Souza says, do you rate any Croatian players? Yes, I do like Vlasic at CSKA in Moscow. I think he's only 23, 24. He's someone that I do like a lot of. I used to really like Halilovic, the young guy that was at Barcelona, went off and played for Las Palmas for a bit. Went off to, did he go to AC Milan at one point? I think he was in Serie A at one point, but he was like this kid that was meant to just burst onto the scene. And yeah, never really came of anything. To be honest, I like Duje Coletta-Car at Marseille. He used to play for Red Bull Salzburg, of course, and I thought West Ham might snap him up in the last January window. So yeah, there's a few Croatian players that I do like, and I mean Perisic back in the day, playing for Wolfsburg, used to enjoy watching him play where he made his name, and then obviously moving on to Dortmund and Inter Milan and places like Bayern Munich where he played too. So yeah, plenty of Croatian players that are interesting. To be honest, Dan, I never even really paid too much attention if Solomon was on the pitch for Israel. I was really focused on watching Neves. I completely blanked Solomon, to be honest, in the game. There you go. Halilovic, is he now at Hamburg? Wow, that's unbelievable if he's fallen that low. Patino is a left-footed central midfielder, says Cooch. Very technically gifted, deep-line playmaker, really. Vignesh says, first manager to get sacked next season. My money is on Ollie. My money is on Steve Bruce to get sacked first. No Joe Willett next season. You may see that team unravel with us. Alan Saint-Maximin with no end product. any opportunity to tell you how I feel about him. Here you go. I miss the young lads. Have you heard of Luka Modric from Croatia? Yeah, just he's an incredible talent coming through. Big things are expected of him. 35-year-old. Susic. No, I haven't heard of Susic, the fellow, at all. So that's a new one on me. Lookman from Fulham. Well, he's not from Fulham. He's actually from RB Leipzig, is Lookman. He was on loan at Fulham from there. Obviously, my missus is a big Charlton fan, and so she knows a lot about Lookman from his time there before he went to, I want to say Everton. But I think he went to Leipzig and then he went to Everton, or he was on loan at Everton. I can't remember. I think he may have been bought from Everton now I think about it. But yeah, he was a big creator in the Fulham side last season, but they just didn't score enough goals. It was a really big problem. So there you go. First manager to be sacked will be Tuchel. Wow, that would be a very surprising thing. Or maybe it will be the new Spurs manager. That would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it? Everton. He did go to Everton, thank you. And then off to RB Leipzig. Let's scroll up a little bit more and get some of the questions that I've missed before we wrap things up. Sarun says, why do we always start the games at a really slow pace and often show no urgency until we concede a goal? Is it because of the players or a tactic by the manager to play the game at a slow pace? It's a really difficult question to answer, Sarun, mainly because I think Arsenal would want to play quicker, but I think they lack the resources to play in a certain way. I also think the oppositions have learned how to slow Arsenal's play down a hell of a lot. But yeah, I think there is a big mentality question about the team, and there has been for a long time, about their commitment, about their drive. And we've only seen a few games like the Wolves away at the start of that game where we really blitzed it. Chelsea at home where we blitzed that one at the start of the game as well. But yeah, it has been very slow, and it's a really difficult problem to try and solve because it's usually a systemic issue. He's at Birmingham, is he? Halilovic. Wow, that is wow. Unbelievable scenes. Glorious emotion. Anyway, let's wrap things up there. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys, to speak to you as always. I'll be back this afternoon, as I said earlier on, to give you guys all the latest information regarding Alexander Isak in the Tactical Breakdown show. So make sure you tune in for that one. I'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It is Thursday, which means tomorrow is the European Championships kicking off. We are also going to be revealing from our members in our Discord server the winners of each team for our Euro sweepstakes. So I look forward to doing that, and of course revealing which one of the members has won a free ticket into this week's prize draw, which should also be pretty good to witness as well. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, guys, to speak to you as always, and as always, up the Arsenal.